The annual budget template brought to you by the templateshop.net, and let's see how powerful this is. It gives a snapshot of the overall budget, whether it's in terms of budgeting, the actuals, or based on various comparison that you would like to do. A quick update on this is we start with the summary. A few important things to be noted. An explanation of the various sheets, which you will find them in individual tabs, and so also for a better navigation, on the left hand side we have the navigation bar where you can directly jump in on a particular tab. Likewise, okay. Moving on, let's understand. Go back to the instructions. So we have all the details which are required in addition to changing the theme based on your preference as well as the currency of your preference. Let's look at a high-level overview of the input data which you need to populate based on various classifications, which is based here as in terms of the income or savings, the bills that we need to pay, and the due date for each of these bills. The important thing to be noted here is these are dates which eventually will reflect under my calendar, so there is no scope for missing a particular bill due to oversight. You have expenses, the debt, again the due date for the debt payment, and the debt snowballing effect, whether it is a loan, what amount of loan, whether it's a long-term debt, short-term debt, or other liabilities is up to the user to classify. We also look at the year in general, where we start with the year 2023, as in this case. It is customizable. You can add your year. The goal, various goals. Each of these are highlighted by various graphs. And let's see how do these graphs change when we input things in terms of whether planned or actual. To ensure that you appreciate the fact that these graphs change dynamically, let me make some drastic changes. So in January, the net worth planned, instead of $1063, I would look at maybe $10,000, and this is how the graph change. Income, it's $2,800. I would say $28,000. A drastic change, so the graphs change substantially. Savings, planned savings versus actual. Actual assuming there is no saving, it drops. The bills which we are likely to pay, the actual versus planned. So in January, the planned bills are $1,830. Instead of 700, I say for example, make it 5,000. You have immediate impact. So all these add up into the various breakdown that we can have for the budget and the savings, the bills, expenses. So here we have the budget versus the actual, income, planned, savings, bills, expenses, debt, and what is left. This entire columns talk about the income, various incomes. The savings, it goes in the same fashion: income, savings, bills. Income, savings, bills. The expenses, the debt, in a similar manner. What we have here is about the net worth. These columns are about net worth. So what we have here is the cash flow by month for the income, savings, bills. So this is the cash flow by month that you get. By the month, all the details, Jan, Feb, March, etc., based on the various types of expenses. Needless to say, all these graphs are dynamic and they change the moment I change any particular thing. So say for example, I change an 80 here we have, say for example 1830, I make it 18,000. The graphs top change completely for November. We see this? Absolutely. Moving on, we see that these are individual transactions under various category and the subcategory. It helps avoid typing each time because there is a drop down. In case there is a particular category you would like to include, you can always use the edit button to change or edit or add a particular category. The value of the transactions here amount to $118,000, and this is going to reflect elsewhere in the sheet. So what we do here is, assuming on the 2nd of this month, I change this expense of shopping to 2,000. All I have to do is make the change. It's an expense, and I would say instead of shopping, the $2,000 was for clothing. So we click here and the necessary things would reflect elsewhere in the sheet. These are examples which we have provided just for the purpose of helping you understand better. We can of course delete and add manually. I would say $150. It comes under expense. What type of an expense? I would say TV subscription. There we go. Okay, so my expenses right now are to the extent of $2,300. Moving on to the calendar, we realize whatever data we had inputted. So say for example, the internet was due on 5th. We go to my calendar and on the 5th we realize internet, we need to pay the bill. Okay. It gives a very high level overview as well as a visual indication about the kind of expenses that we are likely to incur and we don't miss on any expense. Moving on, we go month-wise. Also, remember that we have the navigation bar here. So we have it because this is an annual template. We have it by the month. So the start date, end date of January, the overall rollover from the previous month, the planned and the actuals, income, saved, spent, the debt paid off, and whatever is left. So we have all these details here. Planned is 5,000 reflected in the graph. Emergency funds 150. I make it 1,500. Again reflected in both the graphs. So all of these are interconnected and very dynamic. Likewise, we have bills. So home maintenance, deliberately making a huge change in the numbers which are hypothetically provided so that you are able to understand how it works. Hobbies and recreation, 2,000. Numbers completely change, as well as the debt. This is on a monthly basis. So we see similar things for February, March, etc. Okay. Once we do this, we have something like a savings dashboard. The savings dashboard will give you a visual indication of the various savings which we have done over the months, the total goal being 173,777. And where does this come in from? It comes in from the input data 173,777. So input data, I click here. The goal which I would like to mention is savings and sinking funds. The goal is where this comes from. So we have a very clear demarcation of the various things we would like to see as an overall goal. So this is my savings dashboard. And we see the various savings, the total goal, the total amount that is saved, that comes in from the transactions tab, total monthly savings, and left to save. Now we have individual charts and graphs which tells us about savings in emergency funds, savings from tuition fees, etc. Right. So all this is about various types of savings. Next, we move on to the another tab, which is about our net worth. The total net worth goal is what we populate here. Our current net worth amount to the goal is $300,000 minus 150 is 299. The total assets, liabilities, and the net worth all indicated very clearly with various graphs, color coded. The asset distribution in percentage, the liabilities, the net worth, so on and so forth. The assets overview, the cash in the bank accounts, right? This is what you have. The various properties. This is completely customizable. Rent from property or business income, machinery, so on and so forth. Okay, so crypto, I might say a particular Bitcoin specific. If there is more, I can add it, and everything gets saved online. So these are the various things as far as your net worth is concerned. Further on, we move on to the debt tracker, which is certainly going to be important. So I click on the debt tracker for the month of January or for the month of February. For the month of, say, September, I have a very clear indication of the various debt, payment, paid, left, balance, etc. in months, debt paid off, month-wise, a very detailed understanding. Last but not least, we have the priority sheet, which highlights our priorities in terms of whether it is very essential to something which is something not essential at all. Within that too, we have something which is actuals and the various priorities, the bills, so on and so forth.